Picture this. It's the 1960s, and a young black girl lays on the living room floor, her eyes locked onto the brand new television set. Her father, a proud postal clerk, had saved up all year for it, a luxury most families on the block didn't yet have. On the screen, a commercial flickers to life. A glamorous woman models a sleek synthetic wig, smiling confidently as the voiceover promises a new look in minutes. The girl is entranced. Wigs were something her mother always dismissed, for old folks or church ladies. But this was different. It was modern. A signal that maybe beauty didn't have to come with the smell of hot comb grease or the hiss of the stove. That was the beginning of something. A quiet shift. And like so much in black hair history, it started in the background of everyday life. Just a girl, a TV, and a glimpse of what could be. In that same decade, Tina Turner was storming the stage like a force of nature. But just before the performance, a quieter battle is happening backstage. In a now famous scene from What's Love Got to Do with It, Ike Turner humiliates Tina for putting on a wig. He rips it off and throws it. It's not just about control, it's about shame. Hair for black women has never been just hair. And wigs, they're not just accessories, they're armor. They're sometimes survival, but most of all, they are misunderstood. So Scope News decided to investigate. What we found was layered, emotional, sensitive, and revealing. Because the controversy over wigs didn't start with social media comments or barbershop debates. It's much older than that. And to understand it, you have to go all the way back. Let's start with this uncomfortable truth. Black women were forced to cover their hair during slavery. In Louisiana, the Tignon Laws of the late 1700s required black women, enslaved or free, to wrap their hair in scarves, not to protect it, but to suppress it. Their hairstyles were deemed too proud, too alluring, too visible. So the state made them disappear. These early laws weren't just about appearance. They were about ownership. About forcing black women to quiet their expression. Fast forward to the 20th century, and black women were still being told their hair was a problem. In workplaces, in schools, in Hollywood, in magazines. So what did many women do? During the 1950s and 60s, many straightened their hair with hot combs to get jobs or avoid scrutiny. In the 1970s, the afro exploded onto the scene, a crown of resistance, a symbol of black power. In 1976, the case of Rogers versus American Airlines became one of the earliest legal battles over black hair in the workplace. Even though this case involved braids, it helped set the stage for the larger hair discrimination fight decades later. The court ruled against the woman, Renee Rogers, stating that braids were a mutable style and not protected. But by the 1980s and 90s, relaxers and weaves took over, not just as style choices, but as survival tools in corporate and media spaces where neatness was code for not too black. Locks were still rare, and when worn by women like Whoopi Goldberg, were often met with raised eyebrows or outright bias. That cultural pressure to fit in and smooth out never fully disappeared. So some of them adapted. They wore wigs to survive, to conform, to avoid harassment. But they also wore them to transform into stars, into leaders, into versions of themselves they were never allowed to be. That social pressure hasn't disappeared. It just evolved. In fact, it took until the year 2019 for California to pass the Crown Act, a law that finally made it illegal to discriminate against someone for wearing their natural hair in styles like locks, twists, or braids. Think about that. In the 21st century, states had to create legislation just so black people could go to work or school without being punished for how their hair naturally grows. And as of now, many states still haven't passed it. Which means yes, black women across America are still being penalized for wearing their real hair, and for many, wigs remain a shield from that humiliation. And the theater world? White actors had been wearing wigs for centuries, nobles in powdered curls, Shakespearean performers in lace fronts. Nobody questioned their authenticity, Cancer patients wear wigs. Children with alopecia wear wigs. But somehow, when a black woman wears one, it becomes a punchline, a target, a weapon used against her by her own community and beyond. That double standard still lingers. Let a white actress wear a wig on stage, it's a costume. Let a black woman wear one to work, it's called fake. The rules change depending on who's wearing it. And yet, even under that scrutiny, black women turned wigs into power, into style, into empire. Some critics, both inside and outside the black community, have gone so far as to claim that black women who wear wigs are trying to appear more European. That straight textures or long inches signal internalized self-hate. But this framing ignores the full truth. Not every wig is straight, not every woman wearing one is hiding, and not every hairstyle is a rejection of self. Sometimes it's just about expression. Sometimes it's just about convenience. And sometimes it's about reclaiming the right to choose without judgment. And some folks will argue about another phenomenon altogether: wig blindness. That moment when the wig is bulky, not laid, or way too noticeable. When it sits on top like a helmet, or the lace isn't melted down. These moments often go viral, turning into memes or commentary about bad wigs and exposed fronts, reinforcing the idea that unless the wig is flawless, it's worthy of mockery. But what's rarely said out loud is this: those jokes hurt more when they come from people who share the same history. Remember the Will Smith and Chris Rock Oscars slap? It wasn't just about two men and one joke. It was about Jada Pinkett Smith's alopecia, her bare scalp on display, and a world that still doesn't know how to respect black women's hair choices, especially when illness leaves no other option. What looked like a moment of overreaction was, beneath the surface, about years of humiliation endured quietly. This also shed light on men sometimes having poor reaction to women's hair. But here's the twist to the story. While wigs have been used to shame black women, they've also made some of them millionaires. There is nothing quite like watching a young black woman with a ring light and a dream turn a lace front tutorial into a full-blown business. These aren't just YouTube clips, they're masterclasses. Branding gold. Some of these influencers are clearing six figures monthly. Entrepreneurs like Naturally Ms. Mary or Peak Mill have built brands off wig education, honest reviews, and black-centered beauty. Their followers number in the millions. Their profits are real. Their impact, unmatched. Wigs have become a business, a movement, a quiet revolution. For the first time in decades, the people wearing the product are the ones profiting from it. But let's not act like the playing field is equal. For far too long, Asian-owned beauty supply chains, especially Korean distributors, have cornered the black hair market. Billions have been made selling bundles, closures, glue, and wigs to black women, while many of those same women were denied access to the supplier relationships that could help them open their own stores. Try walking into a beauty supply store and asking who owns it. Chances are, it's not someone who looks like the customer base. And many black entrepreneurs have spoken out about being locked out of distribution deals, watched closely when shopping, and blocked from wholesale inventory unless backed by a third party. Meanwhile, celebrities like Beyoncé are redefining the image of what a wig can be. Her longtime stylist Kim Kimble revealed that Beyoncé wears custom silk top wigs worth thousands of dollars. These aren't just for performance. They're tailored, sculpted, precision-built. They're not a cover-up, they're a crown. So why the controversy? Why are wigs still such a loaded issue? Because hair is never just hair when you're black. For some, wigs are associated with hiding. For others, with creativity. For some, they are memories of ridicule. For others, they are liberation. But no one should be made to feel ashamed for choosing what protects their peace. Whether it's a synthetic bob from Amazon or a handcrafted silk unit from a celebrity stylist, your hair is your story, and your story deserves dignity. There is no one way to be a black woman. Whether you're rocking your natural coils, box braids, a shaved head, or a honey blonde frontal, your choice is your own. or this is protective hairstyle. You have nothing to prove. Wigs aren't just wigs anymore. Their economy, their history, their resistance, their evolution. And for many black women, they're finally becoming what they should have always been, a path to freedom, not shame. Scope News tells the truth. Here are the facts. Historical documentation confirms that Tignon Laws in 18th century Louisiana forced black women to cover their natural hair, suppressing personal and cultural identity. The 20th century carried that bias forward through employment discrimination, film and media stereotypes, and school policies. Kim Kimble has confirmed that Beyoncé wears high-end silk-top wigs valued at thousands of dollars. Black women entrepreneurs have built million-dollar wig-based brands online. Despite this success, the wig and weave supply chain remains largely dominated by Korean-owned distributors, creating systemic barriers for black business owners. Public debates around wigs, including the Oscar incident involving Jada Pinkett Smith, continue to reflect the deep emotional, political, and cultural weight black hair carries. The notion that wigs are a symptom of self-hate erases the reality of individual choice, cultural history, and survival. Legal disclaimer. This Scope News episode is intended for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It may contain content that is sensitive, challenging, or triggering for some viewers. All stories, historical references, and commentary are based on publicly available research, interviews, and media coverage. This report does not constitute medical, financial, or legal advice. Scope News strives for accuracy, integrity, and cultural context, and aims to uplift underrepresented voices while confronting historical and modern injustice. Viewer discretion is advised.